everyone.
Oh, Ivan is back. Hi, Ivan.
Oh, that's what happens when you give power to limited people, and some people just close the breakout rooms and everybody went back to the mainstream. Okay, where was I? So I was introducing Catherine Di Padua and Suresh, who is from NASOM, and next I'd like to introduce Desiree. Desiree's journey in advocacy for children with special abilities started in 2017 when her son Hans was diagnosed to be in the spectrum. Her voice for awareness of autism is loud and clear through Project Hans, which she officially launched in 2019. Through various events and her website or social media, she has made inroads in the community. Haziq is an academician for Faculty Teknologi, Maklumat dan Komunikasi, University Technical Malaysia, Melaka. He's a specialist in special needs awareness and research, which is presently focuses on dyslexia. Okay, during this parallel session here, we will get the panelists to share their inspiration and passion. I will invite each one of them to share their personal stories on the organization and that they represent. You can log in your questions to the chat group and we will collate the questions and we'll try to respond to the questions after the presentation. I hope the audience is okay with this approach. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Suresh to commence his presentation.
Just a moment, Ivan. I got kicked out just now, so I'm just trying to set the sound again. Just give me 1 minute, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I can join slides. Okay, I'm sharing my slides. Can allow me to share slide, please. Share my slides. Right now it shows host disabled.
Rod, do you have Dr. Suresh's slides?
No, maybe you can enable me so I can.
I think because of the problem they had with co-hosting, I think the host is been disabled.
Yeah, maybe we can add me as co-host again, and I can do that.
I don't.
Suresh, you want to try again? I'm not so sure if I'm, given the rights to allow. Yep. Okay.
Okay, I think, Ivan, you can see my screen?
Yeah? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the organizers of this event, Kiwanis. Warm welcome to Yang Berbahagia Puan Nori. Under pressure upon having you here, but thank you for having you here. It's just what Ivan said, under pressure. So thank you to all for making time to be here. My name is Suresh. I'm the Assistant Honorary Secretary for the National Autism Society of Malaysia, and truly pleased to say a few things regard for this event. So I'm going to cover 3 things basically. First is NASOM at a glance. Second point is about autism and its challenges. And third is the way forward, the future we want. Yeah. So everything about NASOM is in one slide. We have been around for over 34 years, since 1987. We have 15 centers nationwide with more than 400 children today. We cover the entire lifespan services and support from as young as 3-4 years old all the way to even we have students in the vocational program 20-30 years old. We entirely depend on public contribution from individuals, corporates, from the government to basically manage the entire operations of all these 15 centers. In each center, we have parent-teacher support groups who actually work together with the center head to ensure operationally everything works as smooth as possible, and also carry out fundraising at the center level. We also do fundraising at the HQ level as well. Important point, we believe we offer the lowest registration fee in the market because we want to reach the masses and enable everyone to have equal opportunity to learn. We cover entirely for children with autism only because that's the full capability of our teachers. We champion, we as the National Society for Autism, we fully champion for all everyone in the autism community. Yeah. So when we meet the government agencies, individuals, corporates, we entirely talk about everything to do with autism. And nothing else because that's our area of specialty. And accordingly, we are members of the ASEAN Autism Network and also World Autism Organization. So we have, just like every organization, we have mission and vision, but more importantly, if you look on the left side, these are the major 10 questions that we have, and these actually constantly, these questions are always in our mind whenever we do anything at the HQ level, at the center level. And these questions basically keep motivating us, inspiring us, and always as a reminder that, keep this in mind whenever we do something. So it keeps us in line. Yeah. These are all about our centers. We have 15 centers. So certain centers are fully early intervention program, EIP only. And certain other centers, they have a combination of EIP and the vocational center in maybe 2 separate buildings in under one center administration. So we have in the north, in the central region, southern side, east coast as well, and even in Sabah, in Kota Kinabalu. So let's get on to autism and its challenges. Many of you here may have seen this triangle. If you have not, this is it. This is what autism spectrum disorder is all about. When the experts talk about it, they're basically 3 components of impairment: impairment in imagination, impairment in social relationships, impairment in social communication. So when it comes to imagination, it's related to deficits in flexible thinking. Yeah. And when it comes to impairment in social relations, it relates to deficits in understanding how to behave and interact with other people. I think you can relate to that when you understand the definition of it. And impairment in social communication relates to deficit in ability to communicate effectively with other people. There are various examples under that, but I would not go too deep. I want to basically spend more time in the later slides. And there are also other difficulties, for example, sensory related, mental health related, physical difficulties. So in combination, whether a child has one of the 3 mentioned above or 2 or 3, all 3, and the additional difficulties, that's when you have a range from severity, very severe to moderate to mild, and so on, yeah? Depending on which components. As many more components, of course, then they get into the severe stage. This is further, we're drilling down a bit more further. At the core, we have social deficits, repetitive behaviors, and language impairment. And on the side of it, we have issues related to neurological issues such as sleep deficits, mood and anxiety. And then a bit more further, we got related to systemic issues, things like anxiety disorders, OCD, ADHD. And a bit further down, we have related to immune dysfunctions and seizures. Yeah, but in total, it all relates to intellectual disability. That's what it affects. Bottom line, that's what a child or an individual gets affected. Yeah, intellectual disability. So this is what I mentioned in the 2 slides before. Depending on whether a child has difficulty in one of those components or all, that's where it becomes, you get this whole range from severe learning disability, moderate, mild, average, above average, an extreme ability, where you have heard of statements like high function, terms like high function autism, Asperger's, and so on. Yeah. So this is where I want to focus on, yeah, because all the others we all may already know to a little extent, or you all are more experts more than me, because you all may have doctors and psychologists here, and other certified practitioners, which you all will know much more. I come from a perspective of being a parent to a child in the autism spectrum, and having learned so much about the autism spectrum, so that I can accordingly be able to help my child and the community. That's where I come from. So three important points for me, being a parent, being on the board of the National Autism Society of Malaysia. These are some of my major concerns, and I believe my fellow board members also share the same concerns. First is inclusivity. The only way we can actually achieve inclusivity in Malaysia is the day when we have a matured, caring society. To achieve this, we need everyone to work together. Yeah, you cannot, it's just not the parents or the teachers or people like NASOM or Kiwanis and whatnot only working together. Everyone in Malaysia has to come together to make this happen. Only then inclusivity truly happens in its actual meaning. Quality education. We talk about this, it's within the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, goal number 4, education for all of that great, all of that is fantastic. But the minute, for example, when a parent gets to know their child has been diagnosed with autism, the first thing the parent has to do is that both father and mother, husband and wife, they need to, as a team, whether both one of them are in denial or both in denial or whatnot, you cannot run away from this. You must educate yourself all about autism. You must learn that on your own. Go learn everything from the internet, get onto certain programs. There are a lot of programs managed by NASOM, I'm sure Kiwanis, events like this today. Get on the program, learn everything you can about autism. Then next is teachers. Teachers, whether in whichever centers, like in NASOM, we focus every month, almost every month, we focus on ensuring the teachers are upskilled in the areas related to autism, because there's constant upgrading or the approach in teaching children with autism, yeah, whatever age group or severity. Yeah? So we need to constantly upgrade their skills. So teachers, in wherever you are on your own or in your center, you must ensure these teachers are upgraded at all times. And then when the parents know almost everything about autism, teachers are constantly upgraded. They can both collaborate and work together for the benefit of the child, for the benefit of the student. The only way students can be child or the student can be empowered if parents and teachers work together, and then only you can have an effective IEP, which is an individual education plan. For us to have even an early stage, yeah.
Suresh, can you round out, because we are running,
Sure,
we need to manage the time. Thanks.
Third important point is talent identification. We all need to work together. Parents and teachers need to work together to have this talent identification. There are a lot of misconceptions that, oh, only art and baking for children. That is not true. So with regards to all this technology coming, this repetitive efforts are not going to be there. We need to ensure talents are identified for the children. It's very critical. Success stories. There are so many. You all have heard of Greta Thunberg, Asperger's being the youngest climate activist. Cody Lee, being blind and autistic, went on to win AGT, America Got Talent, in 2019. And so many others. You have heard of Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Jerry Seinfeld, Elon Musk, who developed the Tesla car. And most importantly, if you're a football lover, Lionel Messi. He has come out and said that, look, I am within the autism spectrum. Yeah. So thank you, and hope to have all the questions from all of you to be able to answer all of that. Thank you. Ivan, back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Suresh. The last piece was quite inspirational. Very. Now I'd like to hand over to Desiree to share her journey.
Hi, good morning everyone and salam sejahtera. Just give me a minute to get my slides up, and thank you Nori for staying on to listen to this. I always feel at ease when you're here to support me, so thank you. Okay. My name is Desiree, as I've said, and I am a mother to a 6-year-old boy on the autism spectrum. And we were lucky to receive an early diagnosis when he was 2. Lucky because it prompted me to go all out and learn about autism and the various ways I could help my son. I was a first-time mother when he was born at the age of 31. Although he was my much awaited for miracle child, I was also at a loss when he was born. I always say, you know, kids don't come out with a manual. So motherhood was totally uncharted territory to me. And when autism was thrown into the mix, denial was the least of my worries. I saw each of my son's stims as something so unique and not to be ashamed of. He spun in circles, he flapped his hands, he jumped up and down, and he did all of these things with so much joy and glee. So in my early days, my challenge was actually information overload. I had too much information available to me online to read, but none of them were particularly relevant to my son or my specific circumstance. And I always wondered why certain approaches aimed at making us stop our children from these stims that brought them so much joy and brought them so much comfort. It just did not sit well with me. So this is when I started reaching out to people. I closed Dr. Google and started talking to people. And in the course of doing so, I ended up pursuing my master's in special education from UKM, which I've just completed in July. I also attended the Sunrise Startup Program in 2019, which is an approach used in the US for individuals with autism. And most recently, I completed the Handed More Than Words program. And in doing all this, I found the most useful information came from talking to fellow parents, caregivers, self-advocates, and practitioners. No Google search could tell me what so many have already told me and are still telling me on my journey, which is what led me to initiate Project Hans, which started in 2019 and is now a website, which I aim to hopefully provide information to people, information that's useful. The theme of our symposium here today is so apt, the heart-based approach to teaching and learning. And I truly believe this is the crux of education as a whole. I believe it is my very own heart-based approach that's led me here today to this platform, and I thank the organizers for including me in this panel. One of the issues and challenges faced in SEN education is inclusion. I think inclusion is a rather big word which means so much, but with a heart-based approach can very easily become a reality. To me, inclusion does not mean having a quota system or taking a child that's different and putting them in a mainstream class. Inclusion means everyone is included and the learning environment accommodates all of the students and children's learning needs. So it's not about getting children ready for a mainstream system. I think it's the system that needs to be looked at, the system needs to be altered, and the necessary accommodations made so every child can learn in a safe space where they are accepted and understood. Understanding is so crucial, right? How can we accept if we don't understand? And making assumptions is not the same as understanding. So remember earlier when I said the most useful information I've gotten so far is from speaking with people. Well, there are many misconceptions of autism out there, which I've personally experienced, and I've had so many stories relayed to me by self-advocates, adults who are autistic, and fellow parents, and also practitioners. So I would like to share some of those misconceptions, which is my own personal collection of stories, and this is not based on any empirical research. The first one is, which really hit me like a ton of bricks, was when I was told that my son's autism was my fault. And I was told this by a general practitioner, a GP, a doctor who was treating me for a stomach ache. She looked at me and said, "It is your fault your son is autistic. You ate whatever you liked when you were pregnant, And now you need to make sure your son eats less, because autistic children should be thin. And that actually sparked, it made me very sad, but it also sparked the fire in me to go out there and learn more. And I really hope to meet this doctor again someday to tell her how wrong she is. The other one is that autism is a generational thing and it's only happening now. Some people say it's because of our diet, overexposure to gadgets. There are even some who say it did not exist decades ago. And the fact is, no one knew what it was back then. Most were said to have had mental retardation and institutionalized. In fact, I was recently given an article from the Star, which was published in 2007, which said that 40% of the residents at Hospital Bahagia are autistic adults, right? Just because we did not know about it then, it does not mean it did not exist. The other one is the autism will go away if you just put your child in a typical setting. So to me, I feel enrolling a child in a setting that they're not ready for is just so unfair. Yes, we want inclusion, but inclusion means the environment must also be ready to accept all kids. In certain cases, yes, typical kindy is recommended alongside therapy and other intervention, but always have in mind that the child must be ready for a setting that we are putting them in. Another one, autism is caused by bad parenting and gadgets. It's a neurological condition. I know parents have a certain power, but I don't think we are so powerful to alter how a child's brain functions. So parenting skills do not cause a neurological condition. Overexposure to gadgets can impede social and communication skills for any child, but it is an unfair judgment to say that gadgets are the sole cause for autism. Another one is that it's physical and people look autistic. No one looks autistic. A person with autism does not look different physically. Oftentimes it's confused with Down syndrome. The brain of a person with autism just functions differently. So for example, if you take our phones, maybe a neurotypical functions on iOS, whereas a neurodiverse person functions on Android. Both work just fine, just in certain areas, there's some compatibility challenges. Another one, which is very offensive in the community, is that autism is a disease. It is not something to cure, and people do not suffer from autism. In fact, terminology-wise, when you say someone suffers from autism, a lot of adults on the spectrum take offense to that. Also, it's not about meltdowns. Tantrums and meltdowns are not the same, and it's not the only determining factor of autism. As Suresh had brought up earlier, there's a whole bunch of factors. There's a whole manual, it's called the DSM-5, that's used to diagnose autism, and only by meeting those criteria do you get diagnosed with ASD, which are in 3 levels, levels 1, 2, and 3, simply so that practitioners know how much support someone needs, right? So if someone has less meltdowns, it doesn't make them less autistic. They still have challenges in areas that we probably don't see, because most adults with autism have mastered the art of masking. Another one, which is that autistics are either very highly intelligent or they have a below the normal IQ. Autism is a spectrum. Approximately 1 in 10 autistic people have savant skills, and savant syndrome is not exclusive to autism either. Being autistic does not mean that someone has an exceptional talent or skill. Additionally, it's also unfair to say that if an autistic is not a genius, then they must have lower than average intelligence. At the same time, non-speaking does not mean non-intelligent, right? Remember, autism is a spectrum and intelligence levels varies according to each individual. This another one is my favorite. Autistics have no empathy nor understand emotion. I think this, just because someone processes things differently doesn't mean they don't feel emotions, nor does it mean that they don't have empathy. Feelings, emotions, and empathy are very subjective. Expressing it differently or not expressing it for all to see does not make it wrong or non-existent. Since feelings and empathy are felt and not necessarily on display, it's unfair to say that one does not experience it at all. In fact, I think my son does have empathy and he understands all my emotions. So he even knows when I'm angry. And lastly, this one I added just last night. People with autism to me, they are not a puzzle. No one is a puzzle. A puzzle is an object that has a solution or an end goal. People are people. We are all so unique. Just because someone sees the world differently than the norm does not make them a puzzle. Just makes them unique, which is why of late many self-advocates have spoken up regarding the puzzle piece that represents many autism advocacy out there. And in fact, the preferred symbol now is the rainbow infinity, because autism is a spectrum, and the colorful spectrum of autism is represented in the rainbow, and the infinity symbolizes the support of the larger neurodiversity movement. So those are the things that I wanted to bring up today and share. And I know that Suresh has brought up some very wonderful success stories. I'd also like to mention some of my friends who will never make it to the media because they are on the spectrum, but they don't have those exceptional talent. So I have a friend, Ives, Carly. Carly has two daughters, Megan and Amber. My friend's son Isaac has ADHD. My son Hans, I don't see any special skill in him at the moment, but there are many things he can do. So I think it's also very important for the understanding that autism is a spectrum, and for the recognition to be of the entire spectrum, not just the extremes.
Right.
So yeah, that's it
Thanks,
from me.
Desiree.
Thank you.
All right. We are a bit out of running behind time. Can I invite Catherine to present her session? Catherine, are you there? Go to unmute yourself, Catherine. Where's Catherine?
Hi, Ivan.
Okay.
Hey, I'm so very sorry. My line today is so unstable. Is it my turn to speak now?
Yes, Catherine. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ivan, for the brief introduction of myself. And can you all hear me?
Yes, Catherine, you can go ahead.
Yeah. And can you see my screen?
Yes, can.
Yes,
You can?
Catherine, go ahead.
Okay. Let me just somehow. Just a minute. Yeah. Just somehow I don't see my own screen. Okay. Just a minute, some technical error here. Okay, great. So yeah, hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our track on the topic of autism, which is, a topic that is also very close to my heart. And also special thanks to Puan Nori for staying back and on our track and, listening to our story. So my story is I'm actually a mother of, two special needs children. And my journey into the special need arena actually started in the year 2015 when I gave birth to my second child who has Down syndrome actually. And the other special need child is actually my eldest, who is actually on the other scale of the IQ measure, IQ track, which is gifted and talented. So I have a gifted and talented child along with a child with Down syndrome. Now, it is actually both these my children who have actually inspired me to actually start up my own learning center for children who are on the different learning spectrum, which is Oak Tree Resource Center. Okay, so that was in 2017. Since then, 4 years down the road, all right, we have accepted children of various spectrum, from autism to Down syndrome to attention deficit ADHD to slow global delayed development. And today I would like to speak with you in my capacity as a founder and principal of the center. Just want to share with you my stories with the children at my center. Yeah. Now, of the 30 over children that we have, there were a few that stood up. Today, what I like to share is about this teenage boy who came to us from a different center. At the point when the family approached us, he actually had the aggressive streak of attacking teachers and attacking anyone whom he doesn't seem to like. And one of the teacher, as I heard, from my teachers, actually ended up in the hospital from his attack. Now, when he came to us, our teachers who had experience working with him from the previous center actually pleaded with me not to take him in. But, my philosophy is no child should be turned away. I accepted the child anyway. After he has come in, the first month itself, we did have challenge working with him, wherein we saw the, aggressive side of him, where when he had his meltdown, he would throw chairs, he would, attack anyone, the teachers who were working with him. But, I spent some fair amount of time, studying his behavior and trying to understand the root cause of it. So what I did was I did a behavior analysis, wherein, I have what we call the ABC chart. ABC chart stands for antecedent, behavior, and consequence. I map out his ABC chart and realized that his behavior was triggered from home. And then further discovered that, he was actually ill-treated at home with harsh words and harsh punishments. So what I did was I worked out a strategy with all my teachers as well as his mom. I called for his mom and map out a strategy where it is based on the principle of love. And that is for all of us who are his close contacts, to shower him with love and gentle care, so that it will help boost his morale, that no harsh punishment should be done upon this child. So there will be no hitting, no harsh words. And instead, we should motivate him with positive reinforcement, with positive rewards, with positive words. And we ourselves is to be a positive role model for him, so that he will role model after our behavior. And along the line, we have taught him communication skills to actually shout for help, ask for help, and to also express his own emotion when he is unhappy. Today, with all of these 4 strategies, showering him with love, no harsh punishment, be a positive role model for him, and teaching him the effective communication skills, we've managed to turn this boy around. He is now 18 years old, and he's such a loving boy. He would smile and greet us good morning whenever he comes to the center. And he stopped hitting us or the teachers or the children, and he's beginning to be able to express himself in one single word, be it help, 1 or 2 single word, help, go away, okay, angry, but he's now able to express his own emotion. So this is one of our, success story that we take pride in, because it is one of the more challenging case that we have to work with. So what was our guiding principle that I set for my teachers as well as for myself as a parent, is to accept our child the way they are, no matter what their behaviors are, what are their characteristics. Have faith in our child and never give up in them. I cannot imagine if I had given up on this boy, what would he be today? I have parents who came to me asking for help with their 45-year-old son who is aggressive. And I always, it pains me to have to turn them away, right? So it is so important for us to never give up on our child from the time that they are young, and give them the opportunity to flourish, yeah, to reach their potential, yeah. And also, as we work with them, all right, never treat them any differently. We always treat our kids the same, just like how the other neurotypical development children are. The same with my own children. My 3 kids, I always treat them the same. I've never singled out my second one to be any different from her own siblings, and love them with all our heart. Sometimes this is not easy, yeah. I'm not saying this is going to be easy. This is not easy. And I have teachers who, you know, who have their bad days, yeah, who have their bad moments, and you know, I always advise them, if you need the break, go take the break. But you know, together we can make a difference for our kids if only we will persevere, even when the going gets tough. And most importantly is dare to dream. Dare to dream for our kids to achieve their potential, no matter what their talent is. So this is my list of guiding principles that I always hold very dearly, you know, to my heart. And that's what I would like to you know, that's what I like to impart with all the parents, educators, and whoever who is present in our symposium today. So with that, that's the end of my sharing. Thank you very much, yeah, for listening to me. And over back to you, Ivan.
Thanks, Catherine. That was a very nice, simple list of principles that we can live with. I'd like now to invite Dr. Haziq to present his portion. Thank you. Dr. Haziq?
Catherine,
all right.
can you stop sharing?
All right, can everyone see my slide?
No, Haziq. In the meantime, I posted some link to the website by Project Hans, Oak Tree, as well as NASOM. Do download the link so that you can refer to it later. Okay, Haziq, please go ahead.
All right. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. All right, thank you, Ivan, for your brief introductions about myself. All right, let me, currently I'm attached as a senior lecturer in UTAM. So I was in UTAM since 2004, it's already 17 years back. And then I started working with people with special needs, I think 15 years back, where I started working with people with dyslexia, with persatuan dyslexia since 2006. And I'm think to explore more about other people with special needs, which is mainly autism, in 10 years back, which is 2011, where I started my PhD in Australia. So my role here as a technologist, so basically I'm going to talk about how technologies could support the developments of people with autism. All right, so all right, so I'm going to share my experience for the about 10 years working with this project, which is we call My Calendar. So basically, when I started my PhD in Australia, so basically we engage or we meet the parents and teachers in one of a special education school in Brisbane. So basically, when we had discussion, brainstorming with the stakeholders, so basically they mentioned that children face very different challenges in their environment, which is at home and at school. So basically, the child unable to talk what happened at school and when they get home and vice versa. So we think that it is good to create a motivational context from the child interest, what they love most, what they are doing in their daily activities, so that from there we allow the parents and teachers to better support their communication at home and in the classroom. So based on their own activities, desires and motivation. So this is the initial when we started the project 10 years back. So when we had a very serious discussion with the parents and teachers at school, so we asked them what kind of the technologies that they are looking into, because they're saying they have a very challenging time when to handle the kids in the classroom and also at home. So they require one technology which could help them to track the developments, able to record the activities, and then to be able to be communicated between home and school. So with that regards, what we tend to do is, and another one important point that they are mentioning is they wanted to carry over the teaching transition in both settings. For example, whatever the kids has learning in the classroom, it needs to be carried over at home and vice versa, so that the carry over learning can happen continuously. So that's the main aim when we design My Calendar project. So discuss with the stakeholders, where I said parents, teachers, caregivers who dealing with these children. So basically the 4 key elements they wanted the technology is going to be simple, able to personalize. That means able to cater for each individual needs for the children, and then able to provide information in the context of what are the activities that the kids are doing in the classroom and also at home. And the parents can discuss with their kids and vice versa for the teachers too. And then the 4th one is the application able to track the development for the particular kids, either for the 3 months, 6 months, etc. So that's why the idea came up very quickly to propose this My Calendar. If you could see from the first interface, is a profile skill. I think it's very important when we work with children with autism, we should know their strengths and weaknesses, what are the challenges and limitations. From that, of course, when we provide this kind of profiling interface, is to cater for every single children in this project who have their own skill that they need to get throughout the IEP goals. So usually we have individual education plan for each kids. So I can say that every kids that we are working on, they have different IEP goal. So as mentioned, this calendar able to cater for 3 goals. So they've been set up the 3 goals that need to be achieved by parents and teacher when the kids are studying their journey using this calendar. I think that's this we call the term. So usually the term is 3 months per term. So they will revise it, the skill accordingly when it being achieved, or maybe it needs to be carried over for another 3 more months. So it's sort of like the calendar is sort of like evidence-based, which is a normal calendar. It has day and also a month, if you can say here, and then it has the pictures, visual, which is photo, and video, which is able on that particular day. So by looking this visual calendar, what the parents and teachers can see, they can just flip over on the particular day and look at what are the photos that the child interests are doing in the classroom and at home. So from that, they can able to foster communications, scaffold the learning at school and etc. So the third interface, which is, I can say that is mainly individual skill interface. So as you mentioned here, we have 3 skill set in IEP need to be achieved for every single children. So here, basically, for example, they need to achieve socialization, communication as a second skill, and maybe behavior, or maybe literacy, etc. So this interface will categorize what are the significant visual, which is photo and video, which belong to the particular categories that they can track the developments over time for that particular individual children that support the IEP goals. All right, let's move on. Let me share about what's happening when we are working this My Calendar project at school and at home. So if you can see, we started at school first.
Haziq, you got 2 minutes. Can you do a quick write up?
Sure, no problem. So from this sharing session, what we found that this initiative, this tablet computing project could help to support the communication between school and home. Basically, the teachers using it at school, they start using show and tell activities based on individual iPad that been stored with My Calendar. The teachers review every single child interest activity that doing at home and at school, sharing with their peers. And then later, the teachers scaffolding the learning from what the parents and teachers provided in the calendar through the visual, and end up from that scaffolding learning. So what happened, the children able to learn writing from that, in the context of what they are doing at home and at school. And at the end of the project, we found that the kids itself able to exchange their My Calendar to be shared, to be communicate with other peers, and also happen at home. So usually the parents use it as familiar interactions. They recorded the activity that they work with the kids, and then they keep sharing because the My Calendar able to write notes and then comments from all the stakeholders. And the most importantly, we found that throughout this project, the participants able to share the positive behaviors, sort of like such as like when they go to the dentist, swimming, etc. So it became a positive modeling behaviors to other peers when it shares during the class sessions. All right, so what I can say here is from this perspective, we found that if we would like to use technology with children with autism, there is 2 key elements which is very important, which is personalizations and customization. What I'm saying, personalization, the technology should be able to cater every single individual needs, which I mentioned earlier, the strength, the weaknesses, the challenges, and the limitation, because I believe every children with autism have a different abilities and have a unique, unique what we call the unique strength. So with that, it need to be catered by the technologies. So as a role of the technologies, when we design, we need to understand their context before we design it, so that it just gives a benefit technology for this population. So after this project, so we work with the latest version. We call it Me Calendars, but it's only available in iPad. So to enhance from the visual calendars, it become an audio, visual, and video calendars that with the new interface that, for example, the teachers and parents can just record their voice through that particular visual that they recorded instead of typing the notes, because they have a very challenging routine when dealing with these children. I think that's all my sharing sessions about my project that I've been working with children with autism for the past 10 years. Back to you, Ivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Haziq. Okay, I've got a few questions from the audience. Let me go to the easy ones first. Okay, we have a guest all the way from Kiwanis, Nepal. Miss Anu, she's asked the question whether NASOM will be able to provide training for what she plans to do, setting up foundation on autism. Perhaps Suresh, you can something to say.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for the question. Maybe what I will do, I will share my email address in the chat. Maybe she can send me more info on this, because I think we will need more info on what she wants to achieve, and then our internal team can then accordingly advise on what we can create for her in collaboration with her, of course.
Right. Thank you. I have a very simple question from Swat Yen. What are the signs and symptoms for a person with autism, and what is the cause for the child to be in the autism spectrum? Okay, just to give fair warning, none of us are physicians or qualified doctors who can give one, but we can share from our experience. Maybe I can put this question to Desiree, if you can perhaps give some insight on this.
Sure. Hi. Thanks for the question. So I believe Suresh had a slide with the three
Triangle kind of thing.
yeah, it's called the communication, the autism triad. So it's repetitive behavior, issues with social and communication skills. The third one I forgot actually. So yeah, so mainly it's repetitive behavior, social communication skills, and when it's diagnosed using a manual called the DSM-5, Diagnostics and Statistics Manual version 5, published by the American Psychological Society. So that's the manual that we use here in Malaysia. So when we diagnose autism, it's diagnosed in 3 levels, levels 1, 2, and 3. Asperger's is no longer a diagnosis, just in case anyone is wondering, it's no longer used. Level 1 means mild, 2 is moderate, 3 is severe. And also we are moving away from using functioning labels because it's a bit offensive to adults on the spectrum. As for the cause of it, well, there are a lot of theories. I believe in my latest readings, there's no exact research findings to actually pinpoint the cause. A lot of it is leading to genetics and hereditary. There are many conspiracy theories, from vaccines to, like I said just now, gadgets, bad parenting. But personally, to my knowledge, I don't think there's a cause. And for me as a mother, if I can answer from a mom's perspective, it doesn't matter to me what the cause is. I just love my child. Yeah, so that's it from me.
All right, thank you. An extension of that question, Mr. Kudip, is it Mr. or Miss Kudip Kaur? Sorry if I got it wrong. What if a mild autistic child has high IQ, 6 years old, but able to do 8-year-old academic, can build good Lego structures without guidance? Is it deemed a savant skill? Can provide some explanation on this? I think Desiree, you mentioned about 1 in 3, or is it 3 in 10 has a savant tendencies?
1 in 10 autistic individuals
1 in
have
10, okay.
savant skills. Well, I personally, I think they have the skills, great, build on it, right? If a child can do work above their level, I would say challenge them as much as they can take. As for how to go about, I'm not sure what the question is. Is the question, how do you diagnose savant syndrome? That's something I'm not too sure how to actually get that title or diagnosis with savant skill. If there's anybody else on the panel has insight on that, I'd be grateful for some help here.
My only perception of savant skill is from the movie Rain Man. Tom Cruise and who's the guy now? So okay, Kudip, would you like to explain further or inquire further? If not, let me go on to the next question from Diane Brown. Hey, Diane, where are
Ivan,
you?
Ivan,
Yeah.
Ivan,
Yes.
Catherine here. I
Okay.
do believe that, all of I do believe that this child need to be properly assessed, by a trained child psychologist, and they are the ones who are able to tell us, uh, what is what is our child's condition, or what is the spectrum that they are on now. It is actually not up to us, to actually comment on that or come to a diagnostic on that actually.
I-
So
I
whoever
think,
this person is, I would advise you to seek the support and help of a child psychologist.
yeah, I think before we start with the question, I did emphasize, if I need to
Mm,
again, we are all
yeah.
not a physician or qualified doctor to diagnose your child. You need to go to a proper person or physician psychologist to give to give you the proper diagnosis of the child. But what we share is we're sharing from our own experience and our own what we've gone through. Correct? Okay, Diane Brown, are you calling from outside of Malaysia? Where are you from?
I live in KL. Well,
Okay.
Selangor, actually.
Selangor,
Hi,
okay.
Diane.
So,
Hi.
so Diane's question is, does Malaysia promote integrated education? I think Diane is looking at opening a base unit system in early years international school using evidence-based approach and implementing the 15 principles of good practice. Also putting out an early intervention program. If I may answer this, Diane, in the Malaysian education system, we have what we call PPKI, which is actually an integrated program for children with special needs into the normal curriculum, and they also do inclusive program as well. So we do have something like that, but it's not in all the schools in Malaysia. It's only certain selected schools. Correct me if I'm wrong, everybody who's especially those who are in the education system.
I want to add that's the problem in my slide. My point about inclusivity. At the overall level, we can speak about inclusivity, but we need a mature, caring society. So the idea that Diane has is excellent. If she can actually create that within her school, whether she can start with children with special abilities or special needs being in separate classes, but they can have opportunities to come together during games, activities, and you can start with that first, and then slowly going forward and mixing together. See, the problem is not actually the kids do not want to come together to play together. It is not the kids. Kids are not born with something in the mind to say, I don't like someone who looks that way. It's sometimes the parents who are the problem. Many times the parents say, oh, I don't want a kid with special needs being in that class. Oh, it slows down the whole class, and all kinds of unwarranted excuses. So I believe get kids together to play together. They could be in separate classes, special needs and the mainstream. Start with that first, and then accordingly, when the parents see the good results, for example, the special needs child benefiting, and also the typical child coming home and say, I have fun playing around with all the children, including the special needs, and they will realize that the kids who are typical will begin to have more empathy and compassion and understanding. That's the important part. When that breakthrough happens, inclusivity at that low level with the children happens, the adults will then fall in place. That's my belief for what I've seen. Thank you.
Hi, if I could just add on a little bit, I see Anne has commented in the chat. She runs inclusive outdoor classrooms. And if I could trouble you to put the link in the chat so Diane can reach out to you. And my ask is for when we build schools like this, that can we please make it affordable? Because we do have private schools that are inclusive. I truly understand there's a lot of cost to cover as well, to pay good teachers and professionals, but it is way beyond the means of the average Malaysian. So that is my one ask when we build schools like this, that it can be affordable.
The owner of the schools, she's actually going to look at having scholarships for parents that are unable to afford the program. I'm just head of development and operations, so I'm looking at writing the program and reaching out to all professionals and linking with therapists and that across the board. But I've done a few courses over my 30 plus years in early years actually, so that's why we're going to implement an early intervention program in that. But yeah, so I was when I first came to Malaysia, I was quite shocked at that there was no integration, as in you still have special needs schools quite like in abundance, where in the UK especially you don't have that anymore. You have base units within a school, and they integrate in certain lessons and that. Plus we run a Regio Centre, a Regio inspired centre, which works very well with special needs children.
Okay.
So,
all right, Diane, thanks. I think we are, the Malaysian government, we are moving in that direction. It's slow, but the plan is there. We just have to see how it's going to be implemented over here. I think we did mention about affordability. There's a question from Pui Fong. From Pui Fong, Pui Fong, maybe you should tell us where you're from, because you wanted to know whether we can give you any reference of an autistic school. Your son is 12 years old, and she did say private center is expensive. So that's what Desiree was commented as well, making sure it's affordable. So Pui Fong, if you could email or put in a chat your location and your preferred location of a school, perhaps we can provide you with a reference for the school. Now we have an interesting question from Kim Chin. Is there any success story of pet therapy for special needs children in Malaysia? I'm not sure whether it's an acronym, but I think it's pet about having an animal pet, right?
There are centers that do, it's called hippotherapy, therapy with animals. I believe there's one place in Cyberjaya run by Dr. Q, who has an autistic son himself. And I believe he does a lot of work with horses and cats, I think. I can't remember the name now offhand. I will Google it and put it in the chat, the name of the place.
All right. Now, I'd like to ask a few questions myself to the panel. Now, the panels that we have today, most of them are have very good resource and able to build up their own ability to learn about autism or special needs education and all that. But we do have, and in general, we do have parents who are from a lesser resource background, and sometimes they have to work to bring food to the table, and at the same time they have children with multiple needs, a few kids. What will be your advice, especially maybe Catherine, you may, given the principles of love that you have put up just now, what will be your advice to parents who have to go through so much for the family, and yet they need to also try to build up a good environment for the special needs child? How do you suggest for these parents to cope with the environment?
I've always wanted exactly like what Desiree has shared, right? I've always dream of supporting these parents, more, especially those who have access to less resources, right? And that is exactly the dilemma that I'm in. Although I run as a private learning center, but I have also taken in families who can ill afford to fee. Exact like what Desiree has shared, a lot of the times we have our own challenges with maintaining our operational costs. So the services that we offer comes at a price which is out of reach for many families, and it is really my dream to see one day that these services will be made accessible to more families. And in the meantime, I would advise these families who are struggling to take care of their children. I think the baseline that I would like to suggest that we start off with is to and I know this is very abstract, yeah, but I think it is very important. That is to not lose hope as parents ourselves. Okay. Now, then, my strategy from before when I realized I have my daughter is always to learn up more about the topic ourselves, and then to not be afraid to shout out and reach out for help, right? And you and eventually you will be able to find a solution for our kids. Yeah. um and then take it from there one day at a time. So all I'm saying is just like what I've shared with all on my principle is to never lose hope, and to continuously look at ways that we can support our kids. Yeah. And that is what I like to leave the parents with. Did I answer your question, or is there something else, a more concrete plan that you're looking at that
No, I think it's that's fine. I mean, I just want the panelists and whoever on the audience to share, and I think it's a real issue for some parents coping
Yes.
with the child with the needs and everything. So I think if we share, because it's not a perfect world, we just have to do the best we can and help the kids. Uh, and I think a lot of parents also, when the child is born with a special ability or special needs, as the child grow older, the parents will think in on the parents about what is the future going to be like for the child when I'm no longer around. So in Kiwanis, we've been thinking about this, we've been grappling about it. We call it from cradle to grave. How do we care from special needs children from cradle to grave? And I'd like to pose this question to Suresh. I think looking at what NASOM is doing, it seems to me you've got quite a extensive program. It's like from early intervention to intensive intervention program to vocational training and all the stuff. Is that something that NASOM is doing right now to try and care and provide support from cradle to grave for special needs children?
Thank you, Ivan. So actually, not exactly from cradle to grave, but almost to the point that where from a young child of just say 3 years old, and as long as they've been diagnosed and assessed, they have already registered with the social welfare department. They've got an OKU card. We accept them to join our EIP centers, early intervention program centers, and accordingly when they reach 14, 15, they can join our vocational centers, our skills development centers, and so on, and grow and make them help them to be able to earn. So we also have within our group of centers, we are also now restarting and rebranding our home. We are also building up on that right now at this very moment, that will be focusing on independent living. Yeah. So where adults who, whether from 15 years and above, even 20, 30 years old, when they become residents of this home, parents are growing old, they may not be able to handle all the needs of their child. And so the home that we have will help them to have build up on the skills needed to be in some ways as much as possible gainfully employed, So it also, they stay there, example, Monday to Friday, they'll be able to stay there. And during that Monday to Friday, they'll be given various skills via exercises, activities, while they are there. Then Friday evening can go back to home, and Sunday night or Monday morning, they can come back to the home again. So we have that right now, and anyone in the audience can also email to me on that. I can then email info on that. So that center is basically in place in Bandar Putri in Klang. So I think it's quite accessible to parents in Klang Valley to be able to send their child there. So we are currently in the process of renovating that home, because for a long time it's not been renovated. It's actually 3 units merged together. So we are in the process of right now renovating that entire big unit, actually 3 homes in one, and we'll keep you all informed. But if you all email me, then I can update you all on that home when it's ready. Thank you so much.
Dr. Haziq, I think just to round up the application that you've shared with us just now is ready to be rolled out.
All right. I just checked in the App Store. Currently, it's only available for Australia market. But I'm going to liaise back with my supervisor, Marco Baratan, with this particular, because I think it's quite useful to be used in Malaysia. So I will keep posted in my Sphere Facebook from time to time when I got the answer. All right.
Okay, that's cool. I think there'll be some, just to go back to Pui Fong. Pui Fong has posted her email. She's in Sri Damansara. I think that's also another person, Nabila Devi, asking about same school for autism, I think, in JB. So perhaps, Namila, if you can put up your email, maybe Suresh, would you be able to recommend any of NASOM's centers for these 2 audience members?
Right now, we don't have a place center in JB, but I think in the chat, Yulisa has posted details about a home, Noor Kids in Johor Bahru. So maybe Noor, you can also add your number there, maybe, so those who are in JB can actually contact you and speak to you about it. One Nori has actually asked question, Dr. Aziq, you have info about your Sphere website or FB, if you can put your link there. One Nori has actually asked for that.
I will do that.
Hi, sorry, Dr. Aziq. I have a list of services on Project Hans website. So if you go to www.projecthans.com, there's a list of services in Malaysia. So centers in JB. I'm trying my very best to build out larger lists because there are many support groups, and support groups have their own little list. So I'm trying to compile those on the Project Hans website. So the lady from JB, sorry, forgot your name. I think there are a few names of centers there under resources.
Okay. The other thing that I like to bring, maybe one last question. Any questions? Anybody has one last question, because we need to end it soon.
I would point Nori had I think an important point there. If we just look at it, I think that's very, it summarizes our session very well. We just look at her point in the chat, actually, she said.
If I may read it out, one of the most useful things I learned upon my son's diagnosis is to invest whatever time and resources you have into parent education or training. Thanks to technology like smartphones, and which the majority of people living in Malaysia do have, and a lot of free content now. There are options out there. Can't run from being not just parent, but your child's teacher and therapist at some point in your daily life. Equip yourself as best as you can. That's a message from this one.
Hey, Ivan.
Yep.
Hi, this is Glenn. Can you?
Glenn di Padua. Okay.
Yeah, hi,
Now,
I'm Catherine's.
yeah, you're the better half of Catherine.
Well, I won't say better half. I think she's the better half. I'm probably the
Other half,
quieter
other
half.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to comment something about Desiree's the question about the expenses or making it cheaper for parents and even what Chet Nori has just mentioned here about keeping yourself educated and what Kat mentioned also earlier, right? I think back to Kat's point, right? At the end of the day, not all of us, have the resources at our hands, right? Not and to Desiree's point, not every family can afford some of these things that we need for these special need kids, right? Some do, some don't. But if there's one thing that Kat and I learned from all of this over the last couple of years journeying with our daughter Manuela is, like what Kat said, is about reaching out to those who might have the resources and not losing hope, right? And what we found over the years, and again, this is testament to the work that Kat has done, right? And if you look at her involvement here with Kiwanis Group, right? A couple of years ago, we connected with she connected with people, and it just one led to another. Okay, and today here she is presenting to all of you and sharing our experiences, how we've journeyed with Manuela, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, I think at the end of the day, it's all about connections and network. It's who you know, okay? And the question to all of us as parents down here is, how do we help others, right? How do we connect with those who are less fortunate, and how do we bring them into the fold? And it's through little networks like this, it's symposiums like this, and it's constantly building that little support group, right? And I think the more parents, especially those who are under-resourced and who need help, if they reach out, that's where you don't lose hope, okay? And if there's one thing that connects us, what we've also found over the years is that as parents, as those who have a child or a sibling or family member or neighbor who is a special child or who has got special needs, right? We appreciate that person, and we can connect with each other because we know what it means to have that person in our midst, okay? What we found over the years was when we go into in schools and stuff, right? And back to Suresh's point, I heard Suresh's comment just now, but there's some parents who just don't get it. They don't accept the kid and whatnot, right? And it is those parents that will instill in their children this competitive race and, it's constantly about the A's and whatnot, right? And they totally forget the fact that, hey, where's the compassion, right? So yeah, it's about, I think we just need to rely on each other because we have to win them over. And we can only win over these other parents is by love. We cannot expect the government to do a whole lot of stuff, right? Because, and I think I heard you say that the government is slow and stuff. Yeah, okay, it's fine. Doesn't matter if the government is slow. It is what it is. But amongst us, this community, this group, you know what it's like to have a child who is special. You know what it's like to have a family member that's special. How do we support each other and not lose hope, right? So yeah, I just wanted to share that, from 2 cents as a dad, as the one watching from a distance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, we need to finish by in 5 minutes. Okay, if I may do a closing remark, I must say that over the course of my tenure as a governor or in the Kiwanis Malaysia, I'm always inspired by parents and teachers who give all they have for these special children. I'd like to shout out to Mala Kunjambu, who put up her story in the chat. She has 2 children with special needs, and despite her age, she's going back to learning about special needs education. And I admire you. I praise you for doing that. And there will always be room for you in Kiwanis. If you like to contribute, please join Kiwanis. I think Catherine will testify to that. You will not regret.
Yes, very true. Mala,
And,
you can reach out to me.
Yeah. Mala is in, where are you? Is Mala from
Penang.
Penang? Oh, great. Okay. Now, just thank everybody. And I'm so inspired by the sharing by the panelists and some of the parents, for Nori as well, the journey that parents have to go through for the journey inspired by their children. And I'm happy that we are learning a lot from children with special needs. And I hope that we will not just end whatever we have learned today. And I hope that this session or the Special Needs Symposium will be a movement to garner all who are all in this committee who are interested for children with special needs. That's what Puan Nori is saying, that we want this to be a collaboration of ideas and resources so that we together can make a difference for these children's lives. And Kiwanis Malaysia is about serving the children of the world, and we believe that the kids needs Kiwanis. So I wouldn't be doing my job as a Kiwanian if not to advertise about Kiwanis. Whoever is keen to do more for this community, please let us know. Come and join the Kiwanis, and we will make a difference for these children's lives. And with this, I think in about 3 minutes, we'll be kicked out of this breakout room. We'll be going back to the main room. May I have each panelist to give a quick 1 or 2 words before we are kicked out?
I'm just going to start off. I'm just going to start off. Yeah. I just want to end this session with the kind of like the message that the foundation for our children really is just as simple as giving them the love that they need. And if we have the love in our heart, everything will fall into place. So that's my parting message for all of you.
Thank you. Suresh?
Yeah, so I think I want to remind the audience regarding the points I mentioned: inclusivity, quality education for all for your special kid. And finally, don't forget identifying the talent. Every special needs child has talent. Every child, that's why you call them special needs, because they've got talents, and that talent can be extremely good. Yeah, so keep that in mind. Thank you.
Desiree?
I just want to part with 2 things, which is that everyone can do for your child, for a family member. It doesn't cost you anything. Number 1 is love them with all of your heart, love them and tell them you love them. And secondly is empower yourself with knowledge. You know, like what Nori said, knowledge is everywhere. Go and get it. Thank you for this platform, Kiwanis.
Dr. Haziq, what?
All right. My advice is as a stakeholder, as a parents, teachers, or technologies, or maybe all of us, what we have to do, we have to be positive when dealing with these children, and also be positive to use technology as part of the intervention to support the developments of these children. But as I said, the 2 key elements, we need to know how to personalize it to cater the child's needs, and how to customize according to their abilities. So with that, I think we can use the technology as a collaborative work between all settings, and also all, with other stakeholders, which is therapists. You can use the technology so that you can bring the evidence to therapists, and also the OT and etc. as parents, and also as the stakeholders. I think with that, thank you so much for Kiwanis for this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We'll be going back to the main room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.